Today's Real to Real is brought to you in part by Holy Family Passionist Retreat Center in West Hartford, Connecticut. Join us for a day, evening, or weekend retreat from now through June to nourish your spirit and renew your faith. For more information on men's and women's retreats, visit our website, holyfamilyretreat.org.
Coming up on this edition of Real to Real.
I'm Kathy Harrington. Annual Catholic Appeal grants being distributed throughout Western Massachusetts. Learn where your donations go.
I'm Nick Morganelli. We'll look at part 5 of diving deep into the diaconate as we visit with Deacon John Leary and his wife Donna.
I'm Steve Kiltonick in Longmeadow, where I'll have the story of a very special statue of Mary and her connection to a fallen World War II hero.
These stories and more are coming your way next on this edition of Real to Real. Hello and welcome to Real as we mark Memorial Day weekend, a solemn observance honoring those who have given their lives for our freedom. We will have more on this day of remembrance coming up later on in our show. But first, after a year's hiatus from active fundraising, the annual Catholic Appeal is again underway, collecting donations from across Western Massachusetts, much of which is targeted to helping our neighbors in need. Although there wasn't an active 2024 ACA drive, funds raised as part of the Beacon of Faith Capital campaign were set aside to maintain critical support for the central ministries and agencies of the diocese, as well as for our valuable community-based partners. Recently, grants from the 2024 ACA allocated funds were awarded to 26 community agencies. Kathy Harrington highlights the important work these various groups provide.
An outdoor concert for the families of Jericho, the Bureau for Exceptional Children and Adults. There's no place like Jericho, as advertised on their 2025 award-winning float in the Holyoke St. Patrick's Day Parade. The annual Catholic Appeal supported agency provides Sunday Mass, religious education, and social services for people with disabilities and for their families.
Bienvenidos a Católica Springfield 102.
Music, prayer, Bible study, and teaching on the air and online. Católica Springfield 102.5 reaches radio listeners here and a global audience online. Along with El Camino and Youth Encounter, Latino Ministries reaches the largest growing population of Catholics in the Diocese of Springfield. Food Pantry Day at the Gray House, where in the span of 3 hours, 500 to 550 families will pick up food. The number of people being helped increases weekly. The Gray House is one of a dozen community agencies supported in part by the annual Catholic Appeal and the Food Insecure.
To announce a year of favor from the Lord.
Campus ministry, whether at the Newman Center on the UMass campus or other colleges where Mass is offered weekly, the goal is to grow the faith of college students and give them a church home away from home, helping them to stay Catholic. Each agency and ministry supported by the annual Catholic Appeal shares our Catholic faith, putting our faith into action. So you'll find the volunteers who are cooking and serving the meals, who are caring for the terminally ill, and who are folding the baby clothes at a pregnancy support center are members of your parish.
It's nice to help mothers in need.
Receiving support for Respect Life Ministries are 8 offices and agencies spread across the 4 counties of Western Massachusetts. That includes Rachel's Vineyard Retreats.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
In Catholic education, all the subjects are infused with the presence of God, not just as they learn theology, but students see the work of God throughout the world in geography, history, and biology. Catholic school students grow up to become priests, and even the Pope. Here in Western Massachusetts, Catholic schools are also supported by the annual Catholic Appeal.
Coming up on this edition of Real.
This program, produced by Catholic Communications, which is supported by the annual Catholic Appeal, brought you this story about Residents Encounter Christ, a ministry that brings our Catholic faith into the jails of our diocese, where some men found God's mercy and joined the Catholic faith.
Alexander, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen, my brother.
We are living in a time of great need for light and a need for peace. And together in hope, with your support of the annual Catholic Appeal, we will build a stronger and more vibrant Catholic community in the Diocese of Springfield. For Real to Real, I'm Kathy Harrington.
And Kathy Harrington joins me now. As many of you know, in addition to her reporting duties at Catholic Communications, she also manages the ACA. Now, Kathy, aside from these important community grants, the annual Catholic Appeal also helps to fund many critical ministries and services provided by the diocese, right?
I referenced a few in my report. The annual Catholic Appeal funds vocations, seminary and clergy, educational support, the permanent diaconate, faith formation, the office of worship, ministry with the deaf, Catholic charities, many more. And they're the ministries that serve and nurture and help us to grow in faith, to evangelize, to ensure our church will continue to produce priests to carry on our Catholic faith.
And there's a full accounting of the 2024 ACA fund allocations online.
You can find the accountability report at diospringfield.org/ACA.
I understand that after the Beacon of Faith campaign that there may be some donor fatigue. What do you say to people?
Well, the 2024 Annual Catholic Appeal was included in the capital campaign last year and was always intended to return this year as a separate campaign. We have a yearly goal of $3 million, and it funds, supports, it pays for the important ministries that serve the diocese. The work continues, even as the Beacon of Faith campaign plans for the future of the diocese. So please, prayerfully consider contributing.
All right, thank you so much, Kathy Harrington, for all of your hard work and efforts. And again, as Kathy said, you can learn more about the annual Catholic Appeal at diospringfield.org. And still to come on this edition of Real to Real, Nick Morganelli will offer the final installment of his series on the permanent diaconate. And Steve Kiltonick will have the moving story behind this statue of Mary and its connection to a World War II vet. It's all still to come on this edition of Real to Real.
Today's Real to Real is brought to you in part by Holy Family Passionist Retreat Center in West Hartford, Connecticut. Join us for a day, evening, or weekend retreat from now through June to nourish your spirit and renew your faith. For more information on men's and women's retreats, visit our website, holyfamilyretreat.org.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio,
just finished this today,
and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Real to Real news briefs. The Jubilee Year Women's Day Mass featured a talk by a consecrated layperson from the Crusaders of Mary. Kathy Harrington has her story.
I want to share from my personal experience what it means to be a mission.
Lucy Liu was in Springfield recently for the Jubilee Year Women's Mass, celebrated on the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima.
Peace be with you. And with your spirit. What a wonderful gathering. Thank you for coming to this Mass, this Women's Mass for the Jubilee Year.
About 175 women filled St. Michael's Cathedral for the Mass, and to hear Liu talk about her conversion. Born in 1988 in Wuhan, China, where the country is officially atheist, Lou wanted to know who God was, but says there was no one to tell her.
I didn't meet any Christian before, until I came to Hamilton College in upstate New York, where I met, as Samantha said, a history professor who witnessed the beauty of the Catholic faith.
Lou says she discovered her personal relationship with Jesus through Our Lady of the Rosary. And along her faith journey, she learned about another Chinese Catholic, John Wu, who in 1937, after reading the autobiography of St. Therese Lisieux, became Catholic. Lou believes the church is growing in China.
We do need to be bold in proclaiming the faith in private lives, in public lives, among friends first, among ourselves first, and then to spread that to the rest of the country. Despite the challenge.
Following her conversion, her mom became a Christian. And in Washington, D.C. last November, her mom was on hand when Lou professed her temporary vows as a Crusader of Mary, a consecrated laywoman.
Not in the convent, and we take the vows of chastity, poverty, obedience. And just like the nuns, we don't wear habits because our vocation is a lay vocation, to be holy in the world.
And for women of faith, the message of Lou's community is important to hear.
Well, I think that the tradition of consecrated life that's apart from being a member of being a religious sister, is a vibrant part of our church. And I think it's a wonderful way because these women will live and work in the world, but still gather for prayer in community.
Lou believes her mission is to spread God's word and to be another Mary on earth. In Springfield, I'm Kathy Harrington.
Pope Leo XIV formally began his ministry as Pope on May 18th during a Mass that marked the public inauguration of his service as the Bishop of Rome and successor of St. Peter. We get more now from Catholic News Service.
Before the celebration, he prayed at the tomb of St. Peter, then received the symbols of his office, the pallium and the fisherman's ring, before a crowd of thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square. In his homily, Pope Leo said he prayed that his pontificate would serve the unity of the Church and the world, which he described as being in a time of deep crisis.
Questo, fratelli e sorelle, vorrei che fosse il nostro primo grande desiderio. Una Chiesa unita, segno di unità e di comunione, che diventi fermento per un mondo riconciliato. In questo nostro tempo vediamo ancora troppa discordia, troppe ferite causate dall'odio, dalla violenza, dai pregiudizi, dalla paura del diverso, da un paradigma economico che sfrutta le risorse della terra ed emargina i più poveri. E noi vogliamo essere dentro questa pasta un piccolo lievito di unità, di comunione, di fraternità. Noi vogliamo dire al mondo con umiltà e con gioia: guardate a Cristo.
A mother and daughter team spoke from the heart about their story at the annual Pro-Life of Pioneer Valley Breakfast. Carolee McGrath returns now with the story.
Lord our God, we come together this morning in the light of the risen Christ.
Father Dan Pacolic, the director of pro-life activities for the Diocese of Springfield and pastor of Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Parish in Westfield, led the prayer at the 10th annual Pro-Life of Pioneer Valley Breakfast, held at the end of April at Wyckoff Country Club in Holyoke. More than 200 people gathered there to hear a story of hope shared by a mother and daughter team, Suzanne and Rachel Guy. Suzanne was repeatedly told to abort Rachel because of an adverse prenatal diagnosis.
3 doctors insisted that we abort our daughter, and we refused. And today we have a vibrant, healthy, on fire for Jesus daughter who would have been equally as valuable had she not lived, had she had all the issues that they said. but we are on a mission to tell the world, even within the pro-life community, that children who have a diagnosis in the womb have not lost their value, have not all of a sudden become disposable.
The doctor said Rachel would be incompatible with life. 27 years later, Rachel, born at 1.2 pounds, proved the experts wrong.
It is such a blessing and such a gift to know I had parents that fought for me, that saw my value, whether I was sick, whether I was healthy, whatever the outcome would have been.
The guys who are from Georgia have shared their story across the country in an effort to encourage mothers and fathers facing a similar diagnosis. They say too often mothers are guilted into aborting their unborn baby.
It honestly is a loving mandate of Jesus to be that voice for the voiceless.
At the breakfast, people brought donations of diapers, wipes, and baby clothes, which were given to Clearway Clinic in Springfield, which is a pro-life medical clinic. Several students from area high schools, including Pope Francis Prep in Springfield and St. Mary High School in Westfield, were in attendance. Pro-Life of Pioneer Valley also gave out awards to students for the annual essay contest.
It's an opportunity to gather people together, basically to keep the pro-life movement alive, because our whole thing is education, and it gives it's a period of enlightenment for people, and hopefully they'll go back and continue to talk the issue up and spread the news that way.
In Holyoke, I'm Carolee McGrath.
You could read more on these and other stories at iobserve.org, where you can find articles from our Catholic communication staff, as well as on-demand episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
Over the last several weeks, we've explored the requirements, commitments, and spiritual journey involved in discerning a vocation to the permanent diaconate. Our hope is that someone watching our show might sense a calling. Nick Morganelli takes us now to the final stop in Franklin County, where the diaconate plays an important role in the faith community.
On Divine Mercy Sunday in Greenfield, Deacon John Leary assisted Bishop William Byrne for the Holy Hour.
Deacon John Leary is generous enough to serve from time to time as my master of ceremonies. It's the guy that makes the bishop not have to worry about all the details so that the bishop can pray. He's just a top-notch man.
Deacon Leary has been in service to the people of Franklin County for decades and has done so as a deacon since his ordination in 2007, where he serves along with his wife Donna at Blessed Trinity Parishes in Greenfield.
I love being a deacon. I really do.
He does.
It affords me the opportunity in a very, very special way, in an ordained way, to baptize children, right? I can stand as Christ's witness for baptism. I was privileged enough to baptize my own grandchildren. I was privileged enough to stand in witness in marriage of my daughter to her husband. And how many father-in-laws or fathers actually get that opportunity? Not only to be the father of the bride, but also the witness of Christ in marriage. It just has worked out tremendously.
And Deacon John and his wife Donna are now in their 48th year of marriage. They've raised 2 children and now have grandchildren. They are witness to the vocation of marriage and how it complements the ministry of a deacon.
I can't stress enough how important it is to remember that God gave me her first.
And vice versa.
As we've come to learn, the wife of a deacon serves as well, and Donna Leary has that servant's heart just like her husband John. She attended classes with him through the discernment process, and they are a team for Christ in the mission field.
I'm a convert, so I got to learn a lot about what I didn't know. Our conversations on our way home would be amazing because he'd be awake, he wouldn't be tired, and we'd be able to talk about what we just learned.
She would get different things from class than I would. Not all deacons' wives can afford themselves to be at every class, but no. I would say that you really should try to attend some of them, you know, with your husband.
With homiletics and theologies and, oh my goodness, it's so many things. And so I get to see what he's going through.
Right.
And I get to respect that, you know, because he's not only my husband, he is a deacon of the church, and he's a deacon of a lot of people.
We're a deacon couple. people look to us both. We're involved in a lot of different ministries here in Greenfield, in Franklin County. We're that beautiful couple that young couples can look at, wondering if they're going to become married or have children.
Among the many ministries Deacon John and Donna are involved in, one is the Residents Encounter Christ prison ministry.
So here we are 20 years later in a jail ministry. Yeah. We run retreats at the jail, and we have mass there on Saturday mornings with the jail.
We do OCIA in the jail as well as they do it here. And when the inmates get out and they want to continue with their faith, they come here. We just baptized and brought 2 guys into the church.
During the Easter Vigil.
As
they started in the jail and they got released, they picked up the program here, and there we are at the Easter Vigil all crying.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
It was awesome. It was awesome, so.
It was. And then we do Bread of Life
Yeah.
with the confirmation kids. I get them in the kitchen and we start cooking and we deliver hot meal to the homebound and elderly.
In Greenfield.
In Greenfield.
And by our baptism, we're called to serve anyways, but the diaconate and the ordination gives us these special charisms to move into the entire community, in effect, step out of the boat.
Yeah.
And Christ, and
exactly.
trust Christ.
Sandra Vavoni, a lifelong parishioner at Blessed Sacrament Parish, has been a witness to that love through the food pantry that they started out of the pandemic, and it continues to serve the community of Franklin County.
He just exudes joy in what he's doing, as if he couldn't be happier doing anything else. This is his gift. This is our gift. What he and his family have done with the food pantry, it's extraordinary. It's so well organized, and hundreds of people come on a regular basis. So Donna works as hard, but she's kind of quieter than John is.
Right now we're going through about 6,000 pounds of food a week. You have to answer this question. The question is, do I have a deacon's heart? Because a deacon cares.
He does.
A deacon looks at, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter where you come from, you're a child of God. And I would say a good way of recognizing if you have the deacon's heart is that people come up to you and say, you know, I think you'd make a good deacon. That's a good indication that other people can read your heart. We're going to move forward as this diaconate couple, trusting God, growing in our marriage. I love this girl more than ever today.
Same.
Our love has grown beyond our wildest expectations.
Yeah.
She's my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's God. It is God.
It is God.
People want to know what's the secret to a happy marriage? God. That's the secret to a happy marriage.
Faith.
Yeah.
You gotta have faith.
Yeah.
Delivering the deep dive into the diaconate for Real to Real, I'm Nick Morganelli.
And we thank Nick for this informative series. If you would like to further explore the diaconate, call their office at 413-452-0676. There are information sessions coming up soon. You can find out all about that and the dates at diospringfield.org. Also next Saturday, May 31st, 4 men will be ordained deacons by Bishop William Byrne during a 10 a.m. ordination mass at St. Michael's Cathedral. All are invited to join in person to express support and prayers for these new deacons. We will also be live streaming the event. Look for a link at diospringfield.org. Next Saturday, starting at 10. And finally, for far too many, Memorial Day has lost its true meaning, replaced as the kickoff to summer, when in fact this day is deeply rooted in our history, a day that since 1868 has been set aside to remember those who gave their lives in service to our nation. At St. Mary's Church in Longmeadow, there is a special connection between a statue and a World War II veteran. Steve Kiltonick has the story.
In 2004, Noreen Toloski, the chair of the Spiritual Life Committee at St. Mary's in Longmeadow, had the idea of converting a storage room that once held the baptismal font into a Mary Immaculate Chapel. Although the church had other statues of Mary, Noreen felt something special was needed for the chapel. She approached Father Francis Riley, the pastor.
I'd asked him if I could find a life-size in color statue of Mary for our church. There's nowhere for people to pray at her feet. So he said, Noreen, it has to be the right statue.
Noreen searched unsuccessfully for 9 months to find the right statue for the chapel. Desperate, she asked Our Lady to intercede.
I had prayed to the Blessed Mother, Mary, I can't find you. You're going to have to find me. Could you put a rush on it and just make the eyes of the statue beautiful?
The next day, Noreen spoke to her aunt, Sister Barbara Ann Curran, a daughter of charity at St. Vincent de Paul in Maryland. Sister Barbara was visiting a friend in Syracuse at a Daughter of Charity convent the previous week.
She said the most beautiful statue of Our Lady is there in the chapel, but the chapel is closing. And she said, Mary has nowhere to go. It's a shame you won't take her. She says, because the eyes of the statue are the most beautiful I've ever seen. And I thought, that's her.
Noreen had the statue shipped to her house until it was brought into the church on September 8, 2005, the feast of the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Noreen noticed a gold plate at the bottom of the statue in memory of William A. Reith, Jr., killed in action May 24, 1945. After conducting some research, she discovered that the 28-year-old Reith from Washington, D.C., was a flight engineer on a B-29 Super Fortress with the 62nd Squadron, 39th Bomber Group. Reith and 8 crew members were shot down over the Bay of Tokyo during a raid on the city. Reith and his crewmates were listed as missing in action. Their bodies were never recovered. He is remembered in Hawaii's Punch Bowl in the Court of the Missing. Sister Barbara told Noreen that one of Reith's 5 sisters, Dorothy, was also a daughter of charity residing at the Syracuse convent. She likely added her brother's name to the Immaculate Mary statue in his memory. Through Noreen's efforts, a Mass has been said at St. Mary's around May 24th in honor of Reith and his crewmates for nearly 20 years.
I just wanted to keep his memory alive, and then with him, all the other men and what happened that day. Just a small way of remembering someone that went to World War II and never came home. We never want to forget them as Americans.
While St. Mary's prays for Lieutenant William Reith, Noreen believes he is praying for them in thanks.
I think he's watching over St. Mary's Parish in Longmeadow, Massachusetts. I do.
For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
And on that note, we close out this edition of Real to Real. Thank you so much for joining us. For all of the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in Western Massachusetts and beyond, log on to iobserve.org, and there you will find local stories written by our Catholic Communications reporting team, also reports from the Vatican by Catholic News Service, and our partners at Our Sunday Visitor. That's iobserve.org. We are also on Facebook, and you can follow us there at Catholic Communications. And as Kathy Harrington mentioned, valuable ministries, services, and agencies depend on your yearly support of the annual Catholic Appeal. If you haven't yet made your gift, please do so in your parish or online at diospringfield.org/ACA. And as a recipient of your generosity, we here on Real to Real thank you so much. Join us again next week at the same time for another edition of Real to Real, your window on the world around you. We leave you now with this tribute to all of our vets on this Memorial Day weekend.